Okay, before we dive into the rational equations, please know that this video we're just going to kind of introduce the idea of what is a rational equation and how to solve it. There is this really unique thing that can happen with a rational equation. I won't introduce that until the next video, okay? So for now, just really basic intro. So a rational equation is any equation that contains a rational expression. So somewhere in your equation, you have to have something that looks like a fraction that has algebra in the denominator. That way you know you're dealing with a rational equation. Luckily for us, ours are going to have lots of rational expressions in them. So just know an equation that contains a rational expression somewhere. Now, luckily for us, the steps to solve a rational equation are identical to the steps for clearing fractions from a linear equation. So you need to find the LCD, multiply all of your terms by the LCD, and then solve the resulting equation. Okay. And for us, in this case, there is kind of like a pre-step. So before this technical step one, you may have to factor your denominators because in order to find an LCD, denominators would need to be factored. So potentially you have to factor your denominators, but then you find your LCD, multiply everything by the LCD, and then just solve. And the resulting equation could be a linear equation, or it could be potentially a quadratic equation. So be on the lookout for both of those. Now, example 2 here, it does say to solve each equation and check the solution. So fair warning, part A and B, the answers are fractions. So we're going to use the calculator to check our solutions. So what I'm going to show you, I think, can be a helpful tip if you don't know how to use this particular feature of your calculator. Now, for part A, we do have a very special type of rational equation. So there are some rational equations that qualify as just proportions. So a proportion in this world is a situation where you have exactly one rational expression equal to exactly one other rational expression. So you have at most two rational expressions equal to each other. Okay, so for part A, it is a proportion. So I'm going to show you how to solve it as a proportion. Then I'm going to go and show you the setup for how to solve it as just a regular rational equation using the steps I've already outlined. So let's see what this looks like as a proportion. Now, what I'm going to show you here on the left only works for proportions. Can't say it enough. Don't try this with anything other than very specifically a proportion. So two things. One, this negative, I'm just going to scoot it to the numerator. So I'm just going to let it live in the numerator. So that's the first thing I want you to know here. But more importantly, when you're solving a proportion, you want to cross multiply. That means you multiply the diagonals. First numerator times second denominator, first denominator times second numerator. So what that's going to look like is 3 times x plus 2 equals negative 2 times x minus 5. Okay, and then we just distribute and solve. So this is just a regular old linear equation. So on the left, I have 3 times x, which is 3x. I have 3 times 2, which is 6. I have negative 2 times x, which is negative 2x. And negative 2 times negative 5 is positive 10, so plus 10. I then want to get all of my variables on one side of the equation. So I want to get all of my variables on the left. So I want to move my negative 2x to the left. So to do that, I would add 2x to both sides. My dog is absolutely going to town on a Chewy behind us, so if you're hearing that, I'm really sorry. So let's see, on the left, we get 3x plus 2x, which is 5x. Drop down your plus 6 and your equals. On the right, negative 2x plus 2x just cancels to become 0. 0 plus 10 is 10. Now, I want to get the 5x term by itself. The issue is plus 6. I move plus 6 by subtracting. So I subtract 6 from each side. 6 minus 6 is 0. 5x plus 0 is just 5x. And then 10 minus 6 is 4. So at this point, I have 5x equals 4. I want to get the x by itself. The issue is the multiplication of 5 and x. I undo that with division. So I divide both sides by 5. 5 divided by itself is 1. 1 times x is x. And then 4 divided by 5, we're just going to leave it in fraction form. So we could say the solution here is 4/5. Now, the other method that works for all rational equations, so method for all rational equations. I'm going to show you the setup. Once we get to the point where you can see these two things are the same, we'll stop and just know that the solution here is 4/5. So when you're dealing with something that is not a proportion, you have to find the LCD and multiply all of the terms by the LCD. And in this case, the LCD is really easy. We have two denominators that are fully factored. There's nothing crazy going on. They're just one factor each. We've got x minus 5 and then x plus 2. So with that, when you have a situation like that, the LCD is just going to be the product of those denominators. So I have x minus 5 times x plus 2. All right, so that's my LCD. So now what we want to do is we want to take the LCD and multiply it by all of our terms. So I get x minus 5 times x plus 2 times 3 over x minus 5. Whoops. Equals x minus 5 times x plus 2 times negative 2 over x plus 2. A little scrunch, but I think we fit it. Now what we need to do is we need to simplify out the denominators and then solve whatever's left. So looking at, hold tight. My dog needs out. Sorry about that. Okay, so where were we at? We were at the point where we need to solve this resulting equation. So we found the LCD, we multiplied both sides of the equation by the LCD, now we need to simplify things out. So looking at the left-hand side of this equation, I noticed that my denominator of x minus 5 divides into the x minus 5 factor of the LCD one time. And what that leaves me is a 1 times a 3 times an x plus 2. So 1 times 3 is 3. And then times x plus 2. Now, on the right-hand side of the equation, the x plus 2 in the denominator divides into the x plus 2 factor of the LCD one time, leaving me with a 1 times a negative 2 times an x minus 5. So we get 1 times negative 2, which is negative 2, times x minus 5. And hopefully, we can all see that this is identical to what we got right here. Okay, so we don't need to take the steps to solve this again. We can just say, okay, dot, dot, dot. We know this is going to simplify to x equals 4/5. Okay, so the method for solving a proportion is kind of a shortcut. So if you definitely have a proportion, you can just cross multiply and solve. If you do not have a proportion, you have to do this method over here on the right-hand side of this problem. Now, you do want to check your solutions, and I'll explain much more why in the next video, but for now, let's just go to the calculator. So pause the video if you need to, get all this written down, and then join me at the calculator. So let's clear this out. Now, what your calculator is capable of doing is storing a value for x. So we could say, hey, let x be 2, and then we could type in an expression and just including the x, and then the calculator will automatically evaluate it for that value. So let's say I had x equals 4/5. So what you do is you want to type in the value that you want to store. In this case, we think our solution is 4/5, so we're going to type in 4/5, and I'm going to type it as just parentheses 4 divided by 5, end your parentheses. And then if you look at this first column of buttons, the very bottom one is the on-off button, but then right above that we have this STO button that stands for store. So you want to type in whatever value you want to store and then hit the store button. And then you have to tell the calculator what you want to store this value as. We want to store it as x. So if we go up here to the calculator, you've got these two colorful buttons, the blue second button and the green alpha button. Directly beside the green alpha button, you have xt theta n. That's your variable button. So we're saying we're going to take 4/5, we're going to store it as x, and then just hit enter. And it's going to say, okay, x is now 4/5. Just know that 4/5 is the same as 0.8. Okay, they're the same thing. So what we can do now is we can take each side of the original equation, type it in exactly as you see it with the x, and the calculator automatically evaluates it for x being 4/5. So the first side of the equation was 3 over x minus 5. So if you want to type in a fraction that looks like a fraction on your calculator, what you can do is you can go back to this green alpha button and then hit the green alpha button and then hit y equals, and it's going to pull up a menu of options for fractions. You want to take the first option. So you can either hit a 1 or hit enter. And that's going to give you that numerator denominator to deal with. So the numerator on the left was 3. The denominator was x minus 5, so just type in the x. and the -5. And then when you hit enter, your calculator automatically evaluates for you. So it's going to know that, hey, x is really 4/5. Let's see what it equals. So when we do that, we get -5/7. Now let's repeat the process, but this time we're going to type in the right-hand side of the equation. So again, we'll do the alpha, the green button, and then the y equals. We're going to choose the first option. The numerator was -2 on the right-hand side, and the denominator was x plus 2. When we hit enter, the calculator already knows, hey, we've stored 4/5 for x. Let's see what happens. And again, for the right-hand side, we got -5/7. So because the left hand simplified to -5/7 and the right hand simplified to -5/7, we know that this equation's solution really is 4/5. So let's move on to part B. So we checked this out, and we can say with confidence our solution is 4/5. Okay, with water. Let's look at part B. So for part B, we have 5 over x plus 1 minus 7/2 equals 5x plus 9 equals 7x plus 2. Right off the bat, this is not a proportion, and the work involved to turn this into a proportion is absurd. So let's just do the regular set of steps where we multiply, well, we find the LCD, multiply everything by the LCD, and then solve, okay? So that cross multiply thing does not work here, all right? Now, I do notice that my third denominator needs to be factored. So my third denominator has a GCF of 2, so I want to go ahead and factor out a 2, and I'm left with x plus 1, okay? So again, I hope you're getting a little bit better at finding your LCD, but if not, let's go ahead and do the table to remind you how that works. We're going to say that this is our first denominator, our second denominator, our third denominator will have a row for each of those. And then you just want to fill in one of those denominators as is. I usually fill in the denominator that has the largest number of factors first. That's just my preference, but you could start with any of these. It doesn't matter. I'm going to start with the third. So my third denominator has factors of 2 and x plus 1. Now the first column, the only thing that can go in the first column is another 2. The only thing that can go in the second column is an x plus 1. If we have any factors other than 2 or x plus 1, we have to start a new column. So looking at my first denominator, I have an x plus 1, so I can overlap that. So far, these are the columns we're working with. All right. Now, my second denominator is just a 2, so I could put that right here. So luckily, I didn't have to start any new columns. Now what I need to do is bring down the representative from each column. So I have a 2's column, and I have an x plus 1 column. This is the LCD. Okay, so my LCD is now 2 times x plus 1. So what we're going to do is multiply all of the terms by 2 times x plus 1. And remember, terms are separated by addition, subtraction, and equal signs. We have 3 terms here, so I'm going to multiply by the LCD 3 times. So let's see, I get 2 times x plus 1 times 5 over x plus 1 minus 2 times x. Oh, I'm going to run in. Hold on. Let me fix that because I'm going to run into my LCD table. Let me scoot that down a little bit. So let's see, we have 2 times x plus 1 times 5 over x plus 1 minus 2 times x plus 1 times 7 over 2. And that's going to equal 2 times x plus 1 times 5x plus 9 over 2 times x plus 1. Okay? So if you get to the point where you're really comfortable with this step, you can do this in your head to a certain degree, but make sure you're really comfortable and double check yourself every time you do this in your head. I encourage you to show this step as you're learning this method. And then once you get a lot of practice and really comfortable with it, then you can kind of move into doing this in your head, but tread lightly. Okay? Now we need to cancel out all of our denominators. So my very first term, the x plus 1 in the denominator, divides into the x plus 1 factor of the LCD 1 time. And what it does is it leaves me with a 2 times a 1 times a 5. So 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 5 is 10. Now looking at the middle term, the 2 in the denominator goes into the 2 factor of the LCD 1 time, leaving me with a 1 times an x plus 1 times a 7. So let's see what that gives me. So 1 times 7 is 7. And then I'm just going to leave the x plus 1 in parentheses for now. Okay. And then the third denominator, the 2 in the denominator goes into the 2 factor of the LCD once. The x plus 1 in the denominator goes into the x plus 1 factor of the LCD once, leaving me with 1 times 1 times 5x plus 9. So 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times 5x plus 9 is 5x plus 9. And now we have just a regular old linear equation to solve. So the first thing I want to do is to distribute. So I get 10, and then I distribute my negative 7. So negative 7 times x is negative 7x. Negative 7 times 1 is negative 7. And then we have equals 5x plus 9. That was my dog. I want to simplify the left. So 10 minus 7 is just 3. And then minus 7x is 3 minus 7x. I want to get all of my x's on the left, so that means I'm going to move my 5x to the left by subtracting it. So let's see, on the left, I get 3, and then negative 7x minus 5x is negative 12x. On the right, 5x minus 5x is 0. 0 plus 9 is 9. I want to get my negative 12x alone on the left. The issue is the plus 3, so I want to subtract 3 from both sides. So let's see, 3 minus 3 is 0. 0 minus 12x is 12, negative 12x. And then 9 minus 3 is 6. We're almost there. So in order to get the x alone, I need to undo the multiplication of negative 12 and x. So I divide by negative 12. Negative 12 divided by itself is 1. 1 times x is x. And then 6 divided by negative 12 is negative 1/2. Now, pause the video if you need to, get all this written down, and then join me at the calculator. All right, at this point, our calculator is still storing the previous value, so we just want to start fresh. We can say, okay, we're going to let x equal negative 1/2, so I'm going to do negative 1 divided by 2. You could also do the alpha y equals thing here if you want. I'm going to hit the store button, and then I'm going to hit the x button. That's going to tell the calculator, hey, from now on, x is negative 1/2 until I tell you otherwise. Hit enter, and it should say negative 0.5. It does. Just know that negative 1/2 and negative 0.5 are the same. And then we want to type in the left-hand side of the equation and then the right-hand side of the equation. So we're going to start with an alpha y equals, and then we're going to choose option 1. My first rational expression was 5 over x plus 1. So just type in x plus 1. And then we're going to hit the right arrow, and that's going to take us in front of the 5 over x plus 1. And I want to type in minus, and then alpha y equals, option 1, 7 over 2. And then just hit enter. So that equals 13 over 2. Now let's type in the right-hand side of the equation, and hopefully when we type it in, we also get 13 over 2. So we want to go alpha y equals, option 1. My numerator was 5x plus 9, so just type that in exactly as you see it. My denominator was 2x plus 2. And when we hit enter, we're hoping for 13 over 2. If we get 13 over 2, we know x really is negative 1/2. And it does, it works out. So we want to go back to the worksheet, and we can say now with confidence our solution was x is negative 1/2. So those are the basics for solving rational equations. In the next video, we're going to talk about this really special thing that you always have to be on the lookout for.